We'll start. That was a good start. Whatever. Oh, for the first time, I am Barc the dog. That's all you need to know about me. Look at this cool laser. Better now. No, that's good. Yeah, she's there. So growing up, Barc, once upon a time I was a little pup, little baby, just like you guys. Everybody started in their mother's womb as a child, fetus, then born with tears, crying all day, right? This is me as a baby. Also me. This is one of my favorite pictures. And growing up, I love to play sports. You see me throwing on this ball. I can't stop moving. Something wrong with me. I love basketball. I love martial arts. I love football. I just, it's all I like to do growing up. They even made a jersey, BARC jersey. I love basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. But because all I did was sports, I wasn't the smartest kid in school. I only failed one class, but still, wasn't the smartest kid. That's me in high school. I haven't changed much. I'll be forever young. I'll be laughing at all. But in high school, by the end of high school, I didn't know what I was gonna do because I thought I was gonna do sports or something, and then I stopped growing. And so my final year of high school, I decided to do 4 art classes in one day. So I painted, I drew, did whatever. And eventually I went to art school, but I didn't go to the best art school. Here all these schools, SVA, Pratt, Cooper. I went to some crappy art school called the Art Institute. Not the Art Institute of Chicago, the Art Institute in Manhattan, which is closed now because they stole people's money. But, that's otherwise. I just want to say that you don't have to go to a fancy school to, be successful. You just have to make it on your own. And so I got a job in the industry. My first job was in advertising. I worked every day. I slept in the office. I hated it. It was just not for me. Just like, it's like that guy right there. Right? And so this is some of the stuff. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the advertising things that I did. This was a medicine campaign for Diamond Tap. This was cold medicine. This was cough medicine. And I like to take every opportunity that I could, even though I wasn't in the industry that I wanted. And I didn't even know at that time that I wanted to be an illustrator. I was still finding myself, but I thought, I had to make money. You gotta make money as an adult. You gotta make money, and you gotta get a job. You gotta go to an office, and you gotta wake up early. So, but I took every opportunity. Something in me just wanted to keep drawing cartoons and stuff. So I did. Every chance I got. This was that. These are some cool gift card packaging that I designed. This was a fun project for Amex, some ice cream cones, packaging, and posters. Underwear. So there's fun stuff, and most of the stuff was like this, boring, stupid, but I still, put my humor in it, like highlighting this guy's underwear, this guy's pelvic area. Just like trying to make it as funny as I could, even if it was a boring ad like this, And then after advertising, I spent a year in advertising, and then I went to Sony Music, where I designed album covers. I was an art director. I directed photo shoots. They used to fly me to LA, and I would go hang out and just stand there and be like, can you just get this photo over here or like this angle, So I've done stuff for Daft Punk and Mark Kelly, but I should take that out, right? He's not doing so good these days. Miley Cyrus and all these other guys. But the most fun stuff was more of the indie stuff. So Dylan Cooper was a rapper. A lot of times when you deal with bigger artists, their art direction is very clearly laid out. So you don't have much freedom. They just give you the images, and you basically put CD package together. Like this is my, like I have my hands on every piece, the CD, the booklet, everything. But you know, there's not much fun in that. So when you're working with artists, you want to be doing indie stuff. This is, did you guys see that? Ooh, this is Doja Cat before that. So I worked with her in her early days, and that was when she was pretty low-key indie. So I got to do some cool illustrations for her. Some other stuff, Weird Al, it's pretty cool. These were my illustrations. So this was a good job. You know, there's a lot of different design. I got to exercise, work with a lot of typography, and you know, even though I was in these jobs, it was just such a great job. I was in like a 30th floor at a closed door office with a view of Central Park, and still I was like, oh, I hate this for some reason. You know? I felt so spoiled, you know. But you know, later on, you know, still doing cool stuff. But I learned out of all those, I spent 2 years there, and this was the most proud thing I did. You know, I was most proud of this. It was like a music pass for a festival, but I got to draw stupid cartoon drawings, you know? And so like all this time I'm still learning that, like I'm trying to find this illustration in everything I do. And so yeah. So during my time at these jobs, I was still doing my own things, you know, animation and trying to, don't mind this, everybody close your eyes right now. Lecture animation. So I was still doing very, very fun stuff, and you know, getting closer to what I wanted, you know. This is a GIF I did for DJ Khaled, another one, that guy, you know that guy? These are some character designs that I did during work. You know, and I would sneak, like I would try to finish my work early and sneak these jobs in, you know, just like stealing their time. I work with Giphy a lot. You guys know Giphy? You know, so these are more ice cream. I did a lot of ice cream, one ice cream. This was a really fun project. So a lot of times these clients have suggestions on what they want. You know, they give you that image of the ice cream, you want this, you want that. But these were really fun projects, and I really felt like I was getting Tinder. Ooh. You know, I really thought I was getting closer and closer to what I wanted, you know, but still not quite there. Candy trolley, this was cool. There's me, I'm super narcissistic, adding myself with my work. I think every artist goes through that, huh? Kit Kat. So this is very early stuff. This is me angry at my job. You gotta make your work personal, you know. You want a break? Take a break with that Kit Kat bar. Again, studying. All this poop, these books. I'm not much of a I listen to books. Well, so these are all projects that I worked on during my time at my jobs. Right? Oh, that's right. Okay. And so I left Sony. One day at Sony, towards the end of the year, I was like, I'm leaving this. I'm adios this place. So I made a plan. I was like, I'm gonna take my vacation. I'm gonna pull my 401k out. You guys know what 401k is? It's like you save up money by putting in money somewhere. Depending on your job, you double it. It's for retirement. It's for retirement when you're old and you stop working, but I'll never get old and I'll never stop working. So I took it out. It's still advice, but I did it. You know, left that job, and I found out about this camp called Go Scouts. It's a camp run by the lead, or the guy who created the world of Adventure Time. And you know, I found out that he holds this. It's kind of like a residency. For 1 month, we're staying in tents in the forest, like that. That's my tent, my first year. And basically, we draw. This was my spot. I would go by the pond, set up my table, set up my drawings. During my time, I was working on side effects. You guys can look at this after. It was one of my first comics that I was creating. This was around the same time I created the first BARC the Dog comic. And basically, we went hiking. We watched movies on a giant projector in the forest, and we pooped in an outhouse. It's not that bad. Think about it. There's 9 people that come from around the world, 9 butts. Public restrooms, way more butts, right? And but my favorite part, that was very physical camp. It was an art residency, but we did a lot of physical things like lifting heavy logs, cutting them down with chainsaws. We built cabins. And every year I went back. Oh, I even built a basketball hoop. That was my dream from the first picture with the tent. This was like 3 years later. That was a basketball hoop. And we cleared out a whole field. It was awesome. It was so awesome. And so I went back every year, and this thing changed my life. I realized that there's other people that are like me that want to be out there on their own, creating whatever they want to create with no boss. Forget a boss. But yeah, that's when I realized that people are really doing what they want to do. So this was a huge turning point in my life where I really went for it. And so after camp, I was super inspired. Just super inspired, drawing BARC every day, thinking about things. At this time, I was still figuring things out. I wasn't quite exactly focused on BARC, but I was so inspired. I was spitting fire, just so inspired, just creating and creating and creating, getting it out, sculpting whatever I'm gonna be making in the future. And but my 401k ran out. It was about 10 grand. Ran out in about a year, So I had to get another job. But when I got another job, before I got it, I said to myself, I want to spend more time doing whatever I want to do than working for somebody. So I literally said, let me get a job, gods of art. Let me get a job that gives me 3 days, 9 to 5, solid hours. And so I applied for this job and I got an interview. They wanted somebody full time. But I told them, this is my time. I can do this job for you. You see my work, you see my past work. Let's do this. And they did it, idiots. They did it. They paid me a bunch of money for 3 days a week. And it was actually a really cool job, I was working at a museum called Gulliver's Gate. It's basically a miniature museum of the world. They have all the continents and, miniature trains and moving things, planes. They have an airport, blah, blah, blah. But I designed the whole museum, did all these graphics and all these things based on what they had already, just adding signage to everything and just, being the art director for this museum. It was a cool job or whatever. Again, I always stuck BARC into it. This is a little statue. You guys can look at it later, but a little statue I asked one of my friends in the model shop to make me, and I stuck it into New York. So this is some of the signage I did for different things: China, Italy. I think this is Latin America, pyramids. But I also got to make a really cool game that I designed. More of my illustration work here. And again, 2 years in. I'm like, actually, every time I feel like it's 6 months. And I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore, But so the proudest thing in the entire museum, I made a whole museum, is this. This was in the back. You couldn't even see it. You had to go around the back to go see this. But this, me walking BARC, was the most proud thing I had in the whole museum. And again, that proved it. So what I was doing during that time, building my clients, and hustling, doing whatever I needed to do to create the life. And I eventually left, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now, just freelancing, animation, illustration. I recently finished some illustrations for a magazine, so, just hustling, and so I realized when I'm dreaming, that, you can make your own future, you can create your own future by just going for it and really believing in yourself. That's the one thing that I run on is belief, and I have tons of energy, so that's something you gotta work on. But you can create your own future. Trust me, I did. Okay. BARC mentality. This is the most important thing. Your hands, whatever you create, everything comes from your mind. Everything starts with your mind. You know? So I'm going to go a little bit about things that I think about when I'm creating work. First is patience. Be patient. Let things come to you. You know, don't force, when you're thinking of ideas, don't force it. Just let it come to you. Walk around, if you're stuck on a project, if you're have art block, take a break, come back to it. Or sleep on it, come back with fresh eyes the next day. You know? This is the dog that inspired BARC. His name's Rocky. He's a friend of mine. Well, the guy who owns Rocky is a friend of mine. I guess he's a friend too. Very cool dog. So Rocky inspired me around February 2015. This is actually a drawing that I drew at my friend Danny, who owns Rocky's house. So that was way back then. So I've been drawing BARC for all this time. You know. This was the first one. This drawing was an actual drawing I used to apply to camp. So you have to draw a spirit animal. So I drew BARC here. So you can see over time he changed and evolved. You know, I wasn't 100% in love with the character yet. So I kept, you know, he snuck into my work here and there. 2016 is where this is the design on the comic. So this is when the first story was made. And then 2017 is when I started really sneaking in more into my work. And then on New Year's Day on 2018, January 1st, or the day before December 31st, is that New Year's, right? I stayed home because I'm a loser. But I worked on BARC, and I was like, okay, this year, 100% BARC. Whoever, the guy that makes BARC is dead, well, this is gonna be me now. You know, I'm fully committed. I jumped in 100%, and it's just been doing really great. So again, I sneak them in everywhere. This is actually a project I did for Sony Music. Always, look, I left Sony, but I was cool with my bosses. You know, always keep cool with your bosses because you never know how they're gonna come back with you. So they hired me to make some background designs for a game for a music artist, and this was one of my favorite projects. And you can see I stuck in BARC right there. So another level to the game. This was land. This BARC is like trimmed out on mushrooms. This is BARC. He's getting carried away by an eagle, and he's in space here drinking some space juice or space soda. So just, you know, I really believe always when you see yourself drawing something naturally and you want to, you know, this is when I began to like really fall in love with BARC. This is another project that I'm working on, kind of a magnum opus future project that I've been drawing images of here and there. Here's some magazine cover that I was hired to do, where I stuck BARC in again. You know, here's some comic where I put him on the top. This was a sculpture that I did for this company called Flipbook, which is basically it's an animated flipbook. But I wanted to design this whole thing around BARC, around the flipbook, and then I created a story around that too. So again, using different platforms to promote BARC and to include it. Next, I'm gonna come short. Okay, don't worry about it. All right, so commitment. Another big thing is commitment. I told you, 2018, I committed right away, and I decided just to only do BARC. I drew him over and over again. It became something like formulaic, you know. And, you know, in high school when you're you know, in high school when you're drawing like little cubes. When you're drawing like little cubes in your notebook, or you're drawing that Superman symbol, it became very easy for me to draw BARC, and that's how I realized, like, wow, this is kind of addictive for me to draw now. I drew it the same way, exact way, and every sketchbook I start with just a couple pages of BARC sitting down. It's kind of this like, signature stance. I drew him at a national park on a rock, and I I graffitied him on a car. You know, just like be about it. When you get committed to something, go 100% in. You know, don't have a backup plan. Just dive right in. Next, narrative, super important. 100%, 1,000, 20,000, billion% important. Always add story. I don't think of myself as a comic book artist. I have a lot of comics. I make a lot of comics. It's only because I want to make depth in my world. I want to make people wonder what else is happening in this world, you know. So always add narrative to anything that you do. Starting with, I had this character. I always drew him, but there was no story. There's no story to him. So, you know, I met some people to this at TUMO that draw the same character over and over again. I'm like, what is this character about? And they're like, I don't know. You know, so make a story about it. People want to know. Again, the sculpture. They didn't tell me I had to make a story, but I wanted to because, you know, again, I wanted to tell the story of this robot. Why is this robot broken? Or where does it take place? What's happening in that world? You know, so just making a setting for your art. Barctober. You know, this was a project that I started in 2017. I'm doing every year. I created a month. Barctober in October. And basically, I did 4 panel comics, 1, 2, 3, 4, every day for the month of October, right? And this was something that really helped me a lot to, in this year, I think, this was in 2017, October. The next year, I saw this. When I made this, it's part of this comic right here, Evolution, BARC Evolution. And I was like, there's something to this little pin, you know? I mean, a little bacteria or bacteria, right? And so from that, I imagined, what if I made a pin in a petri dish, you know? What's the story? What's the story of this pin? You know? So I made up this story. Basically, Barc finds this stinky burger. And he eats it, right? Eats the burger, and he's kind of knocked out or dead. You know, Barc is an infinite person, an infinite animal or thing or organism. He exists in multiple universes and dimensions, and there have been clones of Barc. He's just invincible, you know, like I think I am. But basically, he dies. Scientists start taking him in, experimenting, take his blood, examine his blood, and find bacteria. So I made the story. I created depth in the product, you know. Boom. Next, surprise. This is a very important element. I always like to surprise people, you know. Surprise is so important, you know. Ah! You know, very important, very important. You always want to surprise people. It's like, it's the best. I love surprises. Who doesn't love surprises? You know? That wasn't a great surprise, but now you're awake. She doesn't like surprises. So yeah. So what did I do? I had a comic book festival coming up, and I was like, why don't I just instead of like just standing there with my table, like, hey, hi, you want to read my comics? You know, I created this, I became one of the scientists that collected Barc and started experimenting on it, you know. So I made this whole thing where I was a scientist, and every time like a little kid would pass by, I would be like, hey, you want to help me with something? And there was this little tiny piece of felt sticking out here, and I would say, look, I need this sample. Can you take these tweezers and extract this sample from Barc and put it in this little tube, right? And you know, leading up to this, I even made like little videos to promote that I was doing some weird stuff at this comic book festival. So I'll show you that. There's no audio. There's subtitles though. English. productive and having fun, you know. And I'm all about having fun and just doing whatever you think is funny and cool and whatever, you know. It's movie magic. Woo! Up. 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 Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so if these terms are incorrect, I'm not that sorry, but whatever. And so this is the so I have like a rig. I have a clothes, a hanger around my neck, and then a tripod here. And I'm like this, and I'm like trying to put it in. It's pretty funny. I did it like 13 times. So yeah, that's that. And then this was another quick video that I did for promotion, talking about telling people where to go.
This weekend, BARC Talk will be at the MOCA Festival. Saturday, Sunday, April 7th and 8th. At table J282 on the second
So
floor.
create mystery, create intrigue,
Do stop
and then
by.
tell them where to go.
We'll have many of the BARC Labs items from the series, and we'll have the subject BARC 001 there for you to see in person. That's table J282 at MOCA Festival on the second floor. I hope to meet you.
So that was the MOCA Festival. Went great. Everything's cool. And then, so right after the MOCA Festival, I wanted to pitch an idea to a toy store where I sold those pins. You know, again, remember, don't forget about this pin. This whole thing I did based on this pin, right? So later that night after the festival, I go to the toy store, I pitch my idea, and then my friend invites me to this DJ show. And this is my friend here, Julia Gover, dope DJ from Russia. And I see her and I show her this toy, and I'm wearing this necklace, and she's like, "Oh, what is all this stuff?" You know? She looks at it and she's like, "Wow, this is so cool. Can I take it and put it on my DJ booth or whatever it is?" I'm like, "Yeah, totally. You know, whatever." So I'm like dancing. I'm like, "Oh man, this is awesome." And I'm like getting all these ideas. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I start taking video. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but like, this is awesome content. I gotta do something with this, you know. So again, I made another video to promote. Oh, and I got the toy store thing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna use this somehow, you know. I'm gonna use this footage somehow. Footage I was talking about. And at that time, I didn't know I was going to make this whole thing.
No, it's international. It's BARC.
YOLO. So I did that. I was like, okay, this the dog is lost somehow. You know what? How can I follow that up? And I was like, it would be cool if I made these signs, and I posted them around New York. And so, like, I'm showing you this because I'm not thinking of these things ahead of time. I'm going with the flow, seeing what happens, just letting ideas spark. Like I said, let things come to you. You know, be excited, have them in the back of mind, but like think about it when you're walking around and doing other things. You know, let the ideas flow.
Anyways, if I put enough of these up, I'll find Barc.
So Barc's lost.
Shit. Sorry, Tree. It's like tomography over here. Garbage. Hopefully the dog doesn't piss on this one. Hopefully it does. Classic. Stop.
One of these signs over here.
Barc.
So just going out and doing things on your own. Like, don't listen to anybody. Just go out and do it. These are all self-initiated projects. And all things that I did just because I wanted to. You know? So do what you want to do. Like I said in the beginning, you're your own boss. You know, you can do whatever you want. Oh yeah, another video.
Barc is missing! He's out! He's lost! Everybody! Barc is missing!
So like during this time, I knew I had the toy store thing, so I'm trying to promote and building interest. Everybody's asking me like, "You're an idiot, you lost Barc." I'm like, "You're an idiot. You don't even know that Barc's not real." You know. So everybody's messaging me with all these videos, and I'm online, and I'm like, "I know I'm so dumb. I lost it at the party." You know, and then I'm like, "Hey, you're an idiot." You know. So these are just, you know, I'm building, you know, until the pimple pops. You know. This is Times Square. The museum was in Times Square. So this is what I was doing on my lunch break.
Can't find him!
I paid him $5. So that's another thing, you know, hire people to do things that you couldn't do as good as, you know, like this little, let me use the laser. This little BARC flush. I hired a friend to help me do this, you know, and like I could have done it, but during that time it would have taken me to learn how to do this and learn how to do that. You know, I also hired people to make my toys because I had the capital at that time, but during that time I was working on things around the toys, like the packaging, the comics, the story, you know, so, you know, take these little shortcuts if you can. Okay, what's next? And so finally, this is the toy store. This toy store is like, ever since I was young, I would go here and look at it. It's like a museum. They have old Godzilla toys, all the best Cause vinyl toys, every like $300 expensive toy you can imagine. I would just look at like it's a museum. I couldn't afford it. But one day I stood amongst legends, and I was there, you know. But I was there and I was like, what can I do? Like, how can I make something like interesting that people will think is awesome and want to go there? So I made another video. People love videos. That's what I make. Breaking news. Sorry.
Hi, I'm listening to BARC News. We're here live on the scene. We've got breaking news. Barc has been found. Here at Toy Tokyo. Thanks. Wow, can't this guy run? He must be a professional athlete. He's
Yeah, sports.
suspect looking very, very guilty, sneaking into Tokyo. Who knows what kind of evil deeds will be going on in there? Bark.
That's a real Versace tie. My mom used to work as an assistant at Versace, so I got a free tie. Versace. Okay, and then so I'll just show you this. This is the final reveal, a closer look.
Thank you for joining us once again.
This was the display.
Look at the BARC labs inside Tokyo.
And so all of this just for this pin and this book. Remember, this all started from that Barctober book. So let things flow, let ideas come to you. You'll know when you know, you'll feel it.
Scientists will do with BARC after they complete their research. Visit Tokyo and purchase your own BARC Labs items to find out more. Well, that about wraps up our coverage on the BARC situation here at Tokyo. Your plug to all things BARC. BARC.
So, so I'm doing all these videos and like I told you, people are reacting. Always take the audience's reaction and treat your audience like people, interact with them, create events, do things with them, and like really understand what they're reacting to. And so that's why I make so many videos, because people really responded to them. And so reaction. And momentum. You can see all of this stuff was momentum from one page in this book. I didn't have the idea of going to Toy Tokyo when I was drawing that, So again, follow the fun. Follow and let the ideas flow, okay? Momentum. This is some shots. This is one of my proudest moments, like I said, my most favorite artists and toy designers have been here, and I just can't believe that I made it, to stand amongst legends. This is my friend. And so from that, Bruce Biggums was born. Like if I didn't do all these campaigns and just kept doing ideas and creating for myself. That's my whole thing. I make for me. I don't care about you. I don't care about any of you. I make this stuff because I love it. You gotta love it. You gotta be committed, and I love. If nobody saw my work, I would be proud of it. And I am. So be excited about your work. That's another thing. I'm hyped. I'm hyped right now. Woo! Right? Give me some of this. Give me some of this. Let's go. Yeah, champions. 2019. I was gonna say 2019. So yeah, like I even took him back to camp. The place that inspired me to do all this. Took him back to camp and did more content and more videos with him. He became real. Became a part of the world, and he went. Hold up. Not yet. Not yet. Technical difficulties here. Anyways, you guys having a good time here? Am I talking too much? We're almost done. There you go. And so, okay, let me go back here. He was a part of the world and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he was a person. And he was a person, blah, blah, blah. And then he went back into the illustrations, Became a part of the illustrated world where he was trying to promote everything. And now, and currently, this is like some of my most current, this is my actually the most recent Barctober. So he became a stable part. I use him to promote my stuff in a fun way for me and for other people. So yeah, that's me, BARC Dog now. Yes. That's it. Oh yeah. Bonus animations. One more. I actually made this on New Year's Day. That's not true. Okay, one more time for BARC. That's it. That's it. That's it. Call him.
Եթե հարցեր ունեք, իսկ ամեն ժամանակ ունեք կարող եք
Any questions? Oh, is that? Any questions? Oh.
Do you have any failures that you did not include in?
Of course, every day. I wake up and like, damn, sometimes today's not a good day, you know? I mean, yeah, of course, like some of this stuff, doesn't work, you know? I can't like, of course, everybody fails, but failure is part of success. You can't make it without failing. You have to learn what went wrong to proceed, you know? Duh, come on, man.
I mean, do you have any ideas that you did not include once you thought of it and then, oh, no, that's not enough to make it BARC?
Yeah, they're like all in my sketchbook. My sketchbook's full of dumb ideas. You know? Yeah, of course. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
How would you recommend to go with art club? I think any artist experience is
Got this question before. I'm ready for this question. Okay, so what I do specifically is I'm like working and I'm stuck on this drawing. I can't get anywhere with it. I leave, right? The main thing I do is I go for a walk. Walking stimulates the mind. There's something here that I didn't show you, but you can ask me about this later. But walking actually stimulates the mind. It's science, guys. It's science, right? Biology, psychology, science, right? So I walk. If I think, like every time I want to think of an idea and I'm stuck, I literally go to the store, get some snacks, go for a walk, you know? And like every morning, like if you were in my workshop, we do exercise. We do 30 jumping jacks, we do 30 push-ups, we do 30 crunches, and then we do 30 squats. So exercise, of course. When I'm stuck on a drawing, I love to play basketball. I go to the gym, play basketball for 2 hours. Get away, come back with fresh eyes, you know? Take a break, let the ideas come to you, don't force it. Okay? That's it.
So what would be your main advice to build a career like yours?
Like mine?
Yeah.
Just do it. Every day, no matter who tells you what. When you go home, you're tired from work, that's what I did. I did this. During work, I did it. But I got my work done. You know, that's why they still hire me. Every day. Build your client, be nice to everybody, make friends. You know, I'm not the best network. Dig. But yeah, like just every day, do it. That's it. There's nothing special. My idols are all athletes because yeah, they play a game for a living, but they work every day. At that level, it's elite. You know, to stay there, you have to be conditioned every day. Practice every day, skill, conditioning, everything. So like that's who I look up to in terms of inspiration. So every day, get up, think of ideas, and do them. That's it. Yeah.
What program do you use for animation?
Photoshop, Flash. Yeah, simple. I'm nothing special. I didn't even take animation. I'm just learning on my own. You can do it with paper. Some of the animations are. So.
I also like to ask about art style.
We can't hear you.
Okay. You have a specific art style, and many artists, I think, especially in the beginning, I talking from my experience, it's very hard to settle on one thing and make it your own. I know many people say it comes naturally, but is there any advice?
Yeah. You know, I have a big library at home of my favorite artists. You know, so growing up. As a kid, you copy artists and you kind of take pieces of artists you love. You know, and I'm sure you can see some in mine. And of course, every artist, nobody's original. Nobody's 100% original, but you try to be. You know, so you shed layers of that artist you were as a child. You know, and you build it. You know, you saw my early work with the cough people. That was so different than what it is now. It just takes time. I'm 27. I worked for 8 years in the industry. I started working at 19. So I look young. Right? Okay.
Do you like our content?
I love it. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. Of course. one of my biggest assets. You know, I advise you not to only make friends in illustration. You know, the camp was actually my first group of friends that were pure illustrators. You know, I have friends in fashion who helped me make this, you know, and make pillows. You know, because my school had multi-disciplines. One of my friends, these are two different people who helped me, but this friend, I call him every day with ideas, and he calls me every day with ideas to bounce back, because you want to hear feedback all the time. You want to verbalize your ideas, even to yourself, because when you talk, again, art block, it keeps it moving. You know, because when you're stuck in your mind, you know, sometimes you get like sad or whatever, and it just like rotates in your mind over and over. You gotta get it out. Anything, any problems, anything, get it out. You know, that's how. Friends, yeah, I have friends. Jeb is my friend. Dylan, new friend. Yes, I have friends at home, of course. Oh.
What's next for BARC?
So, secret, surprise, surprise! Oh, surprise. Good question. Anybody else?
What was that you wanted to tell me?
This? Okay. This was a event that I did. Like I said, reaction of fans, right? This was an event that I held at Central Park, where again I just promoted, and I invited people to come, and they got these maps. They also got one puzzle piece, and they got a little baggie with a little chocolate, BARC chocolate, and it was like a little picnic. Can I show? You can just. No. Okay. Can I? So it was like a little. Sorry, this doesn't matter. Yeah, I can just show them. So I had this event called the BARC Gathering, where I had things for sale, and I just wanted to build a community in New York. So Central Park, they came and got these maps. They got these maps and one puzzle piece, and they opened it up. This is where we were. I had a little spot with a picnic blanket. I had pillows. I had balloons, and they were told to go to 6 different spots and do a certain activity, right? And if they completed the activity, they would get another puzzle piece. And by the end, they would get this frame with which they can put all the puzzle pieces in. But every spot had a different task, and you would only open this when you got there, so you didn't know what you were doing. Like, what is this? You know? The first one says, wishes do come true, believe in yourself, and you can truly do anything. Complete this task, throw a coin into the fountain, and wish loudly for BARC to come alive. Like I have a video on my website in the events section where you can see this. But basically, it was just, I wanted to create this social experiment and make people get out of their comfort zone and do weird things. Another one was clap loudly and walk across the bridge 3 times while you're laughing. So how insane is that? Right? But it's harmless. Another one is high-five a stranger. You know? So just creating cool, weird events where people get prizes and you create a community. You know? So that's what that was.
Okay. You said that it's almost 3 or 4 years that you started BARC. Have there been some moments that you thought, that's it, I'm quitting, I don't want to do it? And
Not since I started doing it 100%, because remember I told you I was drawing him for a long time, but I just wasn't committed yet. I wasn't sold on the idea. It wasn't strong enough. You know, so that's why I said be patient and let things evolve and grow organically. And I learned eventually that BARC can be something. And when I committed 100%, BARC mentality, it became something. And I've only started it in a year, 2018, 2019 now, and now I'm in Armenia talking about BARC. What the hell? But I have a lot of energy and momentum, so use it. You gotta use it.
How successful was the BARC app campaign?
Which one?
The one you did, the elaborate news cycles and stuff. Like how many people actually went out of their way to go to the shop? And
I mean, I can't say exact numbers, but yeah, we did good. Like, you know, I don't know. A bunch of people went. They told me it was awesome, and they send me pictures and stuff. But you know, like that's not something I think about. I don't think about having a successful thing. I just make cool stuff, and people think it's cool too. Whatever, you know. That's not something you should think about. Don't think about, is this gonna happen? Just think about, I'm gonna do this cool thing and I'm gonna do it. Right? Nike, even though I'm wearing Adidas. Anyway,
I got
another question. Let's go.
how do you get your clients?
Through past jobs and through the internet. You know, I work with Giphy, so a lot of people reach out to me from there. I'm one of their artists. I was one of their very early artists. And Sony Music, I was cool with them. I still am cool with them. Even my other jobs, you know, just be cool. Don't burn any bridges unless you got them. I burned bridges, but you know, I had to. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. I'm just like really heartwarmed that you guys are here to hear me fly on. Yeah, if you guys want to come look at stuff, you can. Feel free to touch and open and everything. Ask questions.
I mean this guy, Alex guy.
I hate him actually.